right, everyone, welcome back to convos.dev. Today we're going to be talking about giving your first dev talk. I think Chris is currently prepping for one, or did you already do it?
I already did it at this point
You
in
already did it.
the
Okay.
timeline, yes.
Yes, in the timeline. When we were texting about the topic, I think he was still prepping for it.
Yeah, yeah.
But I also just did my first dev talk recently as well. So I think it's actually something we can share thoughts on. And I don't know, maybe yours was more recent, so maybe you can go first, and
I
then we
like how you
can.
did that to me. Just threw me under the bus. Maybe go first. Why don't I share one thing and then you can share one thing and we'll go back and forth until
Okay.
we're done.
Okay.
Yeah, so for some context, it was very informal. So that was nice in that sense. It was like a nice way to kind of dip my toe in the waters of kind of giving a dev talk. So it was down in Salt Lake City, which is just like an hour and a half for me drive. Except that day there was a shooting on the interstate that shut the interstate down. So I, in spite of
Oh my God.
planning on arriving there like an hour and a half early, so maybe this is the first tip, plan for anything. I planned to be there an hour and a half early because I was going to meet some guy for dinner.
Oh my
And I
God.
was late by like an hour to the, or 35 minutes to the talk. So
Oh.
they shut the whole interstate down. I had to like drive through the country and anyhow, it was a mess. But anyhow, it was down in Salt Lake. And it was like 45 minutes where I chatted over how to build an agent skill as a dev tools company. So there were probably 25 people there or so. It was like a local university classroom that they, used for the space, but all seems like all competent devs who work in the Salt Lake City area. And so, yeah, I had about 45 minutes. It was very interactive. And that way it was nice. Like people were asking questions, talking quite a bit, that kind of stuff. But so that was the context. But my first tip, besides get there like 4 hours early, I guess, is just to like know your audience. I think as I went, because it was so informal, I had a lot of feedback as I went. But it took me about 10 or 15 minutes of talking to start letting them ask questions and things like that. And by the time they did, I realized I'd kind of missed a lot of
Mm-hmm.
basic things that they needed to know to kind of get benefit of from everything I'd said. And that way I kind of underestimated what I had to share and maybe overestimated their, current knowledge of the topic. Cause I don't want to be like pedantic and repeat stuff that's like super obvious. But you really only know that based on what your audience is. So like you can do that by polling ahead of time. Like, all right, before we talk, how many of you have like interacted with the dev skill or, an agent skill before? Have you ever written one? Like those kinds of things just give you enough of a pulse. I wish I would have left, which I did okay with this, but I wish I would have left like my slides a little bit more vague so I could kind of craft it live, which isn't everybody's comfort level. And because it was more informal, I could do that. And then like one thing I had a boss tell me a long time ago was like a meeting never starts until you hear your own voice. And I think in like that casual environment, that's the same way. Like the talk hasn't started until they hear themselves talk. And so I think having them give me interaction early would have not only helped them be more like have more ownership over the talk, but would have given me a lot more signals to be able to put stuff in a way that was actually useful for them, whether it was a little bit lower or higher or whatever. And then like I could have asked a lot more questions interactively of them and started to like shift the talk as we went. And obviously this is a much more extemporaneous thing at that point, but I'm comfortable doing that as long as I have like the knowledge to say something useful. And I wish I would have just been a little bit more interactive up front. But I think overall, know your audience. And if it can't be informal, then you can try to figure that out other ways.
Yeah.
But I think if I'd known my audience better, I could have done a better job connecting with them from the start. And it went well by the time we finished, but I'm like, ooh, man, I missed a bunch of stuff they needed to know for context. They didn't know who I was. They didn't know reason. They didn't know all this stuff. And I just started talking, and or worry about the topic itself, agent skills. So that's my first tip is know your audience.
That's awesome. I'm so excited about this topic, legitimately. Okay, I have questions for you.
Yeah.
These are like one word, yes or no kind of thing. So, how long did you spend prepping for this talk, approximately?
One word, I don't know, because it was like I gave an internal talk on this, then I gave like a
Just try,
5 minute
just try to
blurb.
give like an estimate of like hours, just as much as as best as you can.
I don't even know. I mean, I also wrote our
Like,
whole agent skills for the actual talk. I would say
yeah, for
honestly,
the actual
3 to 5 hours total.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How many times beforehand did you rehearse? Did you rehearse it? Yes or
No,
no? And then no. Okay. So you just kind of okay. How long did the 3 to 5 hours include like creating the slides and everything as
kind of,
well?
sort of, depending when you. Yeah, I would say something like that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Were you nervous beforehand?
No, not really, but
Yeah,
I
it's
talk
chill.
enough, and that's it may have been a good thing if I had been more nervous.
Okay. No, no, no.
No, I
Okay.
mean,
It's good.
I was like nervous in the kind of like excited way, but I wasn't like, oh man, I don't know, like, can I get up and talk? Like, not that kind of nervous.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Okay, that's good to know. So then I'll do context on my talk. So,
Okay.
um, mine was at a conference called MLOps. It was in San Jose at the Computer History Museum.
Oh, that's so
Um,
cool.
yeah, and so I flew down to San Jose, and yeah, so it was a really hectic 2 weeks because the week beforehand was also a self-hosted conference from Brain Trust. So literally, like I was in San Francisco the week before. I flew back to Seattle because I had a pickleball tournament, and then I flew
You just got
back
to
to
pick a
San
ball
Jose
sometimes, you know?
um, for the talk. I don't know how many people. It was like probably like maybe 100, 200. I can't. I'm very bad
Oh,
at like
wow.
looking at a group of
Yeah.
people and estimating how many
But enough
people
that
are
it's
in
like
that.
hard to count. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a
and
good number.
um, good number. So let's see. If I were to answer my own questions, I would say like for me, I was stressing so hard about this talk. Like I was spending a lot of time like crafting the story because it was like I did the thing where I was like, I'm going to talk about brain trust first and evals because I don't think a lot of people understand what my company does or what the problem we're trying to solve is. So that's the first half. Then the whole second half was kind of like this research project that I did to kind of elucidate what the concepts I'm talking about are. And so not only did I have to finish the research project, which in itself was extra work, but then I had to figure out how to explain what I did in the research project. And I was like really scrambling because every run of that project took hours. So every night I would set
Mm.
it off. Every morning I'd wake up and be like, oh, something went wrong. I have to
Oh, that's
fix it. And then
hard.
I have to like do it again. So I was like really trying to get it done beforehand. So it was like days that I was like just focusing on getting this talk. I was and then I did like for me, I'm very bad at or I'm very nervous for public speaking, so I have to rehearse. I have to rehearse beforehand. I'm somebody that like I can't wing a talk. Like I have to know what I'm going to say and it's not going to be word for word. Like when I go up, I do kind of talk and wing a lot of stuff, but I
Yeah.
have to have rehearsed the whole thing multiple times beforehand. I will rehearse it before I go to sleep. I'll rehearse it when I'm driving to the conference. I'll just rehearse it in my head over and over again. I just have to do that.
Yeah.
And so essentially, TLDR, I put a lot of work into this talk, but I actually think it went really well.
Oh, awesome.
I'm sure a lot of people lied to me when they said this, but there were a lot of people who said that they thought my talk was one of the better ones. And then if you go onto the MLOps YouTube channel, they had posted all the talks, and mine has the most views.
Why have I not
Um,
gotten this talk yet from you?
um,
I need links. I will
I'm
find it.
actually really happy about this talk. It's really funny because I'm actually right next to. So I met Zach at the conference.
Yeah.
He also did a talk there. And so fun. It was also very like chill. Like he asked me how I was doing and everything, and he's still awesome.
Yeah.
But I will say my talk has more views than him. But his is the second most viewed talk, so
He'll catch up to you. It's okay.
he probably will.
Well, I really want to watch
Um,
this now. I'm super proud of you. That's awesome.
I'm I don't say this much, but I'm actually pretty proud of myself too. I think
Yeah.
it was worth all the work that I had put into it, and I
Yeah.
put so much more work than I bet most people put into conference talks.
Hmm.
I was really stressing out about this, and I think the one tip I have, or I think I did well, is I just because I was using like AI a lot to like I think to look at my code or look at what I did and figure out, like, I was kind of like talking with it to figure out the chronology or story of how I should shape my presentation, of course, in a condensed way. And every time you're like, okay, how does, because I was comparing agentic to vector search. So I was like, oh,
Okay.
like, how does the vector search logic work? And I would just like, even moving away from the presentation, I would just dig into it. Like, I'd be like, okay, how does this work? Okay, it gives me an output. I'd be like, okay, how does this work? Like, and I'd be asking it lots of questions. And then after like maybe a 10-minute conversation with my AI, I'd be like, okay, can we summarize everything that I've learned into a slide or something. So it's almost like we're talking it out, and then I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. Like, I think people would be interested in this.
Mm.
Let's make it a slide. And that's kind of the process in which I did things. And that was really helpful. And it also made it such that, like, the things in my mind and sorry, we're just going to keep this in, but the things in my
Yeah, no
mind that
worries.
I found useful, like, I'm glad that it was also what other people found interesting, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
it could have been a hit or miss. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, as far as like the prep too, like I think we had two very different talks. Like that mine was 20 people in a room at night after work versus like people showing up for a full conference. Like I think for that, I would prep it, probably script it, probably rehearse it multiple times. But that felt like way too formal for this.
Yeah.
And so I think, yeah, and I think the type of talk you give really changes your prep and should. I've also been at talks recently where it was more this kind of thing where somebody showed up to like a formal meetup that was like a lot less formal, a lot less informal. So a more formal meetup. And it was clear they hadn't really prepped and they were just ad-libbing completely. And that I don't really appreciate because I'm like, hey, you have all these people here. Like in that case, it was a couple hundreds of people. And it was like clear that they were just kind of chatting off the top of their head. And you know what? I should do this. I should tell you guys about this thing. And it was like, okay, like it didn't come across respectfully. And so like, I always really appreciate when somebody gives a lot of prep because you're like, okay, this person has really respected themselves. They've respected the time. What I really want to do is just quit this, podcast episode so I can go watch your talk, but I'll have to do that later. But, I'll mention the second tip and then I give you a chance to interact or mention your own, and I'll be short here, but like one thing I've really appreciated about really good talks that I've heard, like Dave Kiss from Mux, I think is an expert at this, is like engaging the whole person. And by that, I mean like not just their mind, but really pulling in their emotions, their like nostalgia, like every talk I've seen him give, just him as one example, like in the first 20, 30 seconds, you're like, ooh, yeah, that's exactly what that feels like. Like immediately you feel like part of it.
What's an example of something?
Yeah. So for instance, I'll tell you what I did in my talk. So I was like, hey, do you guys remember in high school where like everyone's wearing the same clothes? They're all like trying to mimic each other and you start doing it too, but you don't really know why. And it's just like, this is what we do. You know, do you remember that feeling? And you're like, I really wish we understood like who started this, whose trend is this? Or you're part of a sports group and you show up and everyone's doing something a certain way and you're not really sure why, but you just kind of follow along. And you really wish like somebody could just guide you. Like an upperclassman could come along and say, hey, let me show you why we do this. Here's the way we do these things. Here's kind of the history behind it. I want to be the upperclassman for you today. And with agent skills, everyone's using them, but it's like, do you really know how they work? Or are we just kind of all following each other? So like, that was my attempt. I think Dave does a better job of it, of saying like, let me pull you in emotionally. Like, yeah, I kind of do need a guide. I kind of do want that. I know what that feels like. That is kind of how this feels right now. And then engaging their mind. So just engaging the whole person, their mind, their will, their emotions, if you want to pull it all in, but to try to get them engaged as a whole person. And I think a lot of times as devs, we go straight to the mind, just like, here's the things, the facts you need to know, blah, you know, and even if you tell a story, it's all directed at the frontal cortex or wherever. I don't know. I'm not a brain person. But I feel like especially engaging people emotionally appeals to their whole self, their whole person, and I think makes the talk more engaging as a whole. So that's something I've tried to do, but I came away with like, okay, there's some ways I can improve in there too.
I do like that. Are you, or is Dave somebody who's good at like baking in jokes as well into his talks, like humor?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say his personality comes through, and like he's a really fun guy, and he's just enjoyable to be around. And that's how you get, when you listen to a talk, you're like, oh, okay, I would like to hang out with this guy.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's such a good tip. And I agree. Like, I think starting with some sort of story or baking in stories or human aspects means, people will be less likely to zone out when you're talking.
Yeah.
I really like to bake in jokes. I think I always do rehearse one or two that I know will kind of get a chuckle, but I'm quite funny. So I do feel like I'm... No.
I love this confidence. Seriously, it's
Uh,
amazing.
no, it was actually really funny because the talk before me, um, at MLOps, there was a guy that was like, "Oh, we don't believe in PMs at our company," which was fine. But it was really funny because, like, in my talk, I had a slide that included, PMs, and I was like, "Oh, well, if you're the guy before me, you're not going to need this slide," and just things like that.
Yeah.
But it was, I think I, when I'm on stage, I do have fun. Like I do get
Yeah.
very was it stage fright? I have big stage fright. I have
Mm.
really, really bad stage fright. But it's always like right before. And that always
It's
be
like
like,
jumping off a cliff, like that moment right before,
yeah,
and then
jumping
you're
off
just
a
like,
cliff.
let's do it. And then once
Yeah,
you're
then
there,
once I'm there, I'm
yeah.
like, okay, I am nervous, but I feel like I still have my mental faculties around me, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. Like when I was younger, I was nervous and I would lose my mental faculties. Like if I had to do a piano recital, I'd forget my piano piece. But for some reason now, I'm still really, really nervous, but at least
Mm.
I have my brain still working somehow. So I'm really grateful for how that is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like that confidence comes through in like a really healthy way when you're listening to a speaker. And like there's obviously a line where it turns into more just like ego, but like even the way I'm hearing you talk and like as I've seen you do stuff in the past, like I feel like you have this way to like just be like I'm confident when I'm doing it. And like that's a good thing to hear from a speaker. And like you want that from a speaker because it gives credibility to what they're saying. And so I'm glad to know that you were able to kind of get in that pocket of just like, yeah, I'm nervous, but like I'm comfortable and I enjoy doing this and like I'm good at this. And like there's I don't know, there's a comfort you get as a listener when you feel like your speaker like is in that pocket.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple things like that's definitely an overtime thing. Like I think one, knowing my topic really well, like all that prep beforehand gave me confidence. I mean, things like this podcast, I like with having worked at a startups for 5+ years now, you get thrown into a lot of situations where you have to do webinars or do live streams before you feel like you're emotionally ready to do it, if that makes sense.
Right.
But I just I'm put in those situations so much that I do feel like that's helped me over time. Like I don't see it, I guess, in the moment, but I will say I do think over time it's helped me be better because I don't think
Yeah.
3 or 4 years ago I would have been able to do a talk like that. Um, so I guess that's my tip, and then I'll do one more,
Yeah.
which is when I did watch back through the talk, the whole thing of like the likes and ums and stuff like that, it does annoy me because I can hear it, and when I watch it, I'm like, I'm saying every single sentence, and there are people I watch on the internet, and they are very intentional about not using it. Like they'll pause, like, see, I'm using like, right? Like I think I almost want to work on not using as many filler words when I'm talking. Um, and I do think there's people I see online that are very good at that, but not a
But some
skill
of
I have.
it's like, yeah, some of it's just who you are and how you talk. I think if it reflects your normal speech, then like it feels more natural. Whereas if you talk to somebody and they're really articulate in person and then they get on a stage and it's filled with ums and likes, then like if to me it feels
That's
odd. So the fact that you talk like that normally, like you throw in a lot of
Yeah, but other
likes,
people don't know that I talk like that, you
yeah,
know?
but
So,
we'll just have
yeah,
to keep the just rise to stardom so that people get to know you more.
yeah, I don't want that.
I was going to mention a tip about getting nervous. Like one of the things that has always helped me when I've done like acting in the past, like in college and stuff, or speaking or whatever, is I just always try to reflect on like I had this chance to do this thing instead of like how will it go, and like
hmm
sometimes if I'm really nervous about something, I'll even be like, hey, this is probably going to go poorly, but like I get to be here. Like I'm going to enjoy it while I'm there. You know, like I'm only going to get to do this once. And so like that's been a frame of mind that's really helped me, or even assuming it'll go bad. I saw somebody, I don't remember the other day saying that they did this for like an audition, that they were saying like, I was auditioning and I was just like, I'm just going to say to myself, I'm not going to get this part. So I'm going to go and just enjoy
Oh,
it
yeah.
because this is like the only chance I'm going to
I do
get, you
that
know?
for every sports game I play. I say I'm
Yeah.
going to lose this game, but I've learned not to do it when I have a partner because it
Mm,
makes my partner nervous. Like
yeah.
my, yeah.
Just
But I do
those
it
are
all the
inside
time. I'm like,
thoughts.
we're going to lose this game. We're going to lose this game. It's a good tip though. It really
Yeah.
helps
Like I might
calm.
lose it. I might be the worst, but I'm going to have fun. Like while I'm here, I'm
Yeah.
going to really enjoy it. Like, so that's one thing that may be useful. I think the other thing, kind of my final tip I was going to give is if you can, to give people something tangible to take away. I've even been to great talks that I left and I was like, okay, that was awesome, but I don't really know what to do with that, especially at a conference where you have like, 6, 7, 8, 10 talks you've listened to. They just kind of all meld together. So I went to a talk recently where somebody gave like, here's a website with like a checklist of like 15 things if you're going to be building out more agentic
Oh,
flows. And
nice.
everyone scanned that. And then I'm like, that was on my phone. And the next day I just opened my phone and it was right there. And I was like, okay, that was actually
Yeah.
cool. Cause then I was like rehearsing the talk, going back through everything they said. And I'm like, I wish I would have done that. It's just to give somebody something tangible to take away that doesn't require a ton of work on their part, like taking notes or, that kind of thing. So I
That's
wish I
really
would have done
helpful.
something like that
Yeah. Well, you can for the next one.
next time.
Okay. Shall we move into tool review?
Let's do it.
I'll go first because mine's a repeat, actually. So if you watch our podcast episodes, Chris mentioned a tool I think it was last episode, called Scratch. So Chris has mentioned many tools and throughout all of our podcasts. I haven't really used a bunch of them, but I did use Scratch and I actually really love it. I
Oh,
think
cool.
so it's a repeat, which is fine. I think that's okay, because it's my turn to
That's
bring
right.
it to the podcast. But yeah, I've really enjoyed Scratch. I just think it's because I do a lot of note taking. I use Scratch pads all the time, and so I just think it's great. And a lot of the time when I need ephemeral, like markdown files, maybe like even for the course, I have markdown files for like what I need to do when I'm recording the product, like everything I need to show, and I need like a list of things, so I have to write that all down. And so it's really great for stuff like that. And I don't know, I like the UI. I think it's been great. So I'm glad for that suggestion.
Cool. Have you used like any of the AI stuff in it, or has it mostly been
No,
just the
honestly, I
markdown?
don't
Okay.
I don't want to. Like when I do note taking, I just want like a basic scratch pad.
Yeah, that's
And
fair. I do really like the UI. Like it's just super clean and yeah.
yeah.
So, well, cool. I'll mention another tool. I don't think I've mentioned this before because it's pretty brand new to me and I may be brand new altogether, but it's called Burr.now, BRRR.now. And it's just
Bird.
like a little notification app that you can hook up to an application and just like hit it. So like for instance, I run a soccer camp in the summer and I just opened registration for that. And every time somebody registers, I get a push notification on my phone and I can also get it on my Mac and anywhere else I want. So it's just like a little notify system. And it's literally just like one line you drop into a serverless function. And when this thing happens, send me a burr, or whatever, a little message. And so I
Okay,
used to use
cool.
Pushcut for that, which has like a server as well that you can run and a bunch of other stuff. So you don't have to run your own serverless function or your own, server to send it. But most of the time I'm, notifying myself from an application I already have. So I was like, this is kind of cool. I'm going to play with this. And it gives you nice little history in the app. It's very simple. It's by like one of my favorite devs who does a bunch of little nice apps like this. So Burr.now.
Who is this dev?
Simon Storving. I don't remember how to say his last name.
Oh,
Yeah, he
that's
does
awesome.
a bunch of iOS apps, especially.
It's very cool. Nice. Brr.
Burr, not the easiest
Um,
thing to say, but BRRR.now.
Brr. Three R's. Three
Yeah,
R's
there
for
we go.
anyone
3
else.
R's.
All right, you can probably guess what my show and tell will be. Oh my gosh.
All right, tell us all about it.
No, the only thing I'll say is in my pool, do you know who Terrell Owens is?
Yeah, like the football player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in my pool.
What?
He's not a great pickleball player. Sorry,
Uh,
Terrell, if you watch this. But no, yeah, it was for APP, which is like a pickleball tour. Um, and so you get in this tournament, there were a lot of pros that were playing. Like I
oh,
wasn't in the
cool.
pro division, obviously, but we got to watch a lot of the pros playing. Very, very cool. I just played in the 4-5 like regular division. This is silver. And then in my pool was Terrell Owens, but he was in because there's 8 teams, so it's one pool of four, one pool of four. So he was in the other pool, so I didn't actually get to play him.
Uh,
But it was cool because he was there, and yeah, um, yeah. Fun times.
That's cool. I like that. Mixing it up, winning silver too. So thanks for leaving gold for some people.
Yeah.
Um, well, I'll show off mine. I should have plugged it in. I don't know what I was thinking, but it's this little ESP32 computer, and I built like a little mini Claude bot that can like smile and say
Oh my
hi.
gosh.
So I swore I would never get into building little micro, computers and controllers. It has a little screen. So I tried to write another custom program, but it's like all in C++ or something. So basically, when I say I mean Claude. Tried to write one, but it didn't work. So it's currently ripped apart because I was trying to restart the little board. But I've just been playing around with these little electronics, and they're really fun to mess with.
Is this the thing that you 3D printed using OpenClaw? Like I saw your tweet that you were 3D printing
No,
stuff.
this is something else, but I have
Okay, okay.
printed a bunch of stuff. Yeah, this is it's
Yeah.
just an open source project, like little Arduino board, threw on
Uh-huh.
Adafruit, some other software, and just started going.
Did you hear about that Anthropic like code leak?
Yeah.
Yeah, do you think it was I honestly think it was a marketing I don't feel like it was like an
Oh
actual
yeah.
leak. Nothing important got leaked. It was just like fun Tamagotchi whatever. Like it's just like, oh, that's interesting that it leaked.
I don't know. I haven't. I mean, I know that it happened, and I know people were like upset
Yeah.
about it, but it also did get them a lot
A
of
lot of
airtime. So
But anyways, that's I mean, I don't know that much about it either, but well,
yeah,
cool. Thanks for listening to this episode. Hope if you're doing your first dev talk or you do any sort of public speaking, hopefully this was helpful to you. As always, you can always go to convos.dev and click on like contact us feedback. We get really excited. Oh, we can put like a burr notification for
ooh,
when we get, that'd be fun.
now we're talking.
But yeah, just hit us up on social media. We love getting feedback on anything. But we'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks,
Bye.
Jess. Bye.